products and services. Please let's give him a warm welcome. Thank you, sir. It also gives me such great pleasure to introduce to you someone whom I consider to be my father, the moderator of this session. His name has become a household name in the financial world. Really doesn't need any introductions, but I'll still go ahead and give you a little background on Alhaji Mustafa bin Tubay. He is the chairman of Burak Capital Limited. He is also the chairman of Global Link Insurance PLC and the member of the Technical Advisory Board of International Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance in Bayero University. In 2004, he was appointed as the pioneer managing director, CEO of Jaiz Bank PLC to set up the bank. Please join me as we give him a very warm welcome. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mariam. I'd like to introduce one of the panel discussants on this panel, and he is Mr. Zubair Mughal. Mr. Zubair Mughal is a passionate individual. I got to find that out very quickly. From Lahore, Pakistan, though he's a resident of the UAE. He is the MD and CEO of Al Huda Center of Islamic Banking and Economics, CIBE, and they have offices in the UAE, South Africa, Pakistan, and Uganda. He is specialized in the area of Islamic microfinancial engineering, poverty alleviation strategies, research and structuring of Islamic microfinance products, and Islamic financial publication. Mr. Mughal is the founding director of Islamic Microfinance Network and the chief editor of Islamic Microfinance News, a dedicated magazine on Islamic microfinance. He has contributed his expertise of Islamic finance in over 40 countries with different local and multilateral organizations such as the IFC World Bank, UNDP, ADBI, USAID, Islamic Development Bank, and a host of others for poverty alleviation and social development. He has experience and contributes his skills in over 50 countries around the globe. Another warm welcome for Mr. Zubair Mughal. And with this, I humbly hand over the proceedings to the amiable moderator of this session, Alhaji Mustafa bin Tubay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our topic for today on Islamic microfinance. For some of my colleagues in Jaiz Bank, nearly 10 years we went to Bangladesh when we were trying to establish the bank and to seek the assistance as technical partners in requirement to fulfill the requirement of the Central Bank of Nigeria for the granting of licenses. And one of the things that struck us at that time was that there was Grameen Bank, which was very successful and very popular globally for its success in microfinance, particularly to rural women. But that was based on the conventional system. But unknown to most people at that time was that the Islamic Bank of Bangladesh, which was just among the best banks in Bangladesh in terms of all the indices of performance based on the camel model used by most of you. And at that time, it was ranked among Citibank, Standard Chartered, and some of the local banks, and it came up either first or second in most of these indices. But the most important thing that struck us was what they call the RDS, the Rural Development Scheme. And they took us to the villages where they were practicing this. We met the local women and local farmers. They did things like bean cake and others and entertained us. at that time, I think they had disbursed nearly, forgive me, nearly 30 million US dollars to rural communities. And they said the recovery rate was about 98%, which means for every 100 naira they give, about 98 naira was paid back by these rural communities. So we were so impressed. The following year, few of us went back, and they said now the recovery rate has gone up from 98 to 99%. So, but in spite of that, it was Grameen Bank that was being celebrated. Then back here also, my friend Ahmed Modibo, he was running Odudullah microfinance, micro scheme. It was based purely on non-interest and Islamic finance model. And to see the level of poverty and how microfinance helps poverty, he just told me one instance that somebody who sells chicken came looking for a facility. And how much was that? Maybe about 10,000 at that time, 10,000 naira. And because of his abject poverty at that time, when the account officers were doing the appraisal, with all due respect and humility, you know, because of the poverty, the stench, you know, they had to cover their nose when they're writing these things. So they finished and they gave him, I think it was about 10,000. They asked him, what are you going to do? He said, I'll go to the villages, buy chicken, and then when I come to Kaduna, the headquarters was in Kaduna, I'll go to the market. I'm not going to sell it retail. I'll sell it to the wholesalers, and then take my profit and go and come back. So they started with about 10,000. So he goes and buys, you know, about 5 or 6, I've forgotten. But when he comes, in a week, he was making about 5,000 naira. So in a month, that gave him about 20,000. And at that time, my watchman, I was paying him about 10,000 naira per month, with all the mosquitoes in the night, sleepless nights and all these things. So these are just a little background to tell you how Islamic microfinance can really turn around. Without much ado, secondly, or lastly, just some few statistics. I think way back in 1998, a study was done on microfinance, and at that time, about 7 billion US dollars was disbursed, covering about 13 million people all over. Now, with the exception of these few that I told you, things like Hududullah and Al-Barka microfinance, I think there is so much that needs to be done in terms of microfinance, whether it is the Islamic or even the conventional. Now, I think the panelists have been introduced sufficiently, but I still like to say one or two things about Dr. Bashir. He's an intellectual par excellence. I knew him since his ABU days. He used to be an activist in those days. So at that time, he was mostly focused on the theory aspect of Islamic finance, muamalat, fiqh, etc., etc. But then, around 2012, 2011, I had the privilege of working very closely with him when he was the special advisor to the governor, the present emir of Kano, Muhammad Usman II, as his special advisor on Islamic finance. So he was able to marry the theory and practice together. As for my brother Muhammad Zubair Magul, who has been introduced, I think the addition I'll just say is that he's the CEO of Al-Huda in Pakistan. Now, I've already given you a little background on the challenges and the possibilities of microfinance. Now, in spite of all these numbers that I quoted, whether it's the $7 billion or the 10,000 that is being offered by Hududullah and others. That is still, we still see a lot of poverty, despair, deprivation, and diseases. So I think we'll now go ahead and listen to Dr. Bashir Ali Umar to tell us what's the way out. Thank you very much. Now quickly, I am just a glorified timekeeper. I will give him about 20-25 minutes. You're fine with that? And then I'll give my brother also another 20 minutes. Because I believe that most of the learning will be during the Q&A and the interactive session. Thank you very much.
Before the speaker, Dr. Bashir, gives his presentation, I just want to quickly, and I'm sorry, excuse me, invite the other panelist was supposed to be Professor Karwai from ABU, but in his place, we have the moderator of the next session actually, and he has graciously accepted to be a discussant on this particular panel, is Dr. Abdurazak Alaro. Please come up to the high table. He holds an LLM and PhD in Islamic law of financial transactions, fiqh al-mu'amalat, with emphasis on Islamic banking and Islamic capital market. He's a member, Central Bank of Nigeria's Advisory Council of Experts on Non-Interest Banking, a member, Takaful Advisory Council of the National Insurance Commission, and a member and head of Research, Studies and Translations Union of African Scholars with headquarters in Bamako, Mali. Dr. Alaro, you are most welcome, sir. So Dr. Bashir will now give his presentation. Thank you, sir.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you, Brother Bashir. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. When they dedicated their 2015 Islamic Social Finance Report, they dedicated it to Nigeria, Sudan, and Madagascar, the three focus countries upon which they based their reports. When they came to in Sudan, they had so many examples. But when they came to Nigeria, necessary for financial inclusion and also for sustainable development, which is one of the key elements of achieving the sustainable development goals by the year 2030. Usually the small and medium enterprises and high growth startups, they've been acknowledged to be the backbone of development created. This is the world average. For developing countries, it goes to as high as 66%. Now, despite that, the funding gap for SMEs in sub-Saharan Africa is very wide. Only 29% of them have access to a kind of a credit, either a loan or a line of credit from conventional and Islamic financial institutions. But many people out of for their social. When we look, it is highest also in Muslim escaped. They usually give the level of finance 50%, 39% from
scenario of Islamic microfinance, and what are the compatibility between Islamic microfinance products and the conventional products. So in addition to whatever comments you will do, if you can address these issues. Thank you very much.
Nabadu Nasalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Amma ba'd, fa'uz billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. First of all, I would like to thank to the organizers to give me an opportunity to sit in Islamic microfinance panel. And I'm sure the recommendation after this forum and this conference will help out for the development of Islamic finance, Islamic banking and Islamic microfinance industry in Nigeria and as well as rest of the neighboring countries. As per concern about the global scenario of Islamic microfinance, I will start with some statistic. The total size of Islamic finance industry right now is about $2.3 trillion. Among them, about 84% belong to Islamic banking, about 11% belong to the Sukuk and Islamic capital market, 2% belong to the Takaful, and unfortunately, within Islamic finance, the share of Islamic microfinance is less than 1%. So we can say that 99% of Islamic finance industry right now only serving to the rich people. But unfortunately, the share of the Islamic microfinance is the less than 1%. While at the other end, according to some statistic of the World Bank, that 44% of the world poverty reside into the Muslim world, while the total population of the Muslim world is only 23%. We can say half of the world poverty is in Muslim world right now. If you see Afghanistan, Yemen, right now Syria, Sudan, and many other Muslim countries, they are hubs of poverty. They have a very less social development over there. As brother Dr. Bashir Umar rightly mentioned that Islamic microfinance or Islamic finance is a very good tool of financial inclusion. In many Muslim society, in many Muslim countries, people do not utilize conventional microfinance for Islamic microfinance product and remain excluded from the financial access. If we want to include them into the financial inclusion, then Islamic microfinance is the solution. As there is some statistic of AFINA, which is mentioned by Dr. Bashir Umar as well. If you see those statistics, the states, the Nigerian state, which have a Muslim majority, they are financially excluded. In northern part of Nigeria, they are financially excluded. Kanu, Kaduna, and many other Muslim states are financially excluded. Why? Because their people do not utilize conventional financial product. If we want to include them into the financial inclusion, then we need such product which are according to their religious and social belief, which is Islamic finance. But I would like to add something when we talk about Islamic microfinance and financial inclusion, that we should introduce our Islamic financial product in a such way which is accessible to all the community. We should include financial technology with our Islamic financial product. We should introduce mobile banking, fintech in Pakistani. In Pakistan, our population is equivalent to the Nigerian population, which is more than 2 million Muslims. But unfortunately, our financial inclusion and financial access is only 18%. 82% have Islamic banking services in Pakistan. We have a very good Islamic banking industry, but unfortunately, we do not have a very good financial industry there. Whenever we talk about Islamic microfinance and financial inclusion, we should link it with financial technology, and rightly mentioned by the Dr. Saab that we should also include them with the micro takafur and some other interventions. Dr. Saab also discussed about the products. Yes, Alhamdulillah, our Islamic microfinance products are compatible with all the conventional credit lending models. Islamic microfinance product can work with Grameen banking models. We have an example in Malaysia. There is one government-based organization, Amana. They are but offering Islamic product. Our Islamic microfinance product compatible with village banking model. Finca is the one of the largest replicator of village banking model, but offering Islamic microfinance product in Afghanistan. Our Islamic microfinance products are compatible with the cooperative model. As Dr. Saab mentioned, one of the Al-Hayat microfinance institution or have a cooperative model but offering Islamic microfinance product. Islamic microfinance products are compatible with credit union model. Islamic microfinance product compatible with the model as well. We have many commercial microfinance, microfinance product compatible and workable with any credit lending model which are operating all over the world. And another thing about the products of Islamic microfinance, if we compare Islamic microfinance with conventional microfinance, then in conventional microfinance they have only one product, calculate the interest and offer to the people. Islamic microfinance, we have even that with inequality. Islam gives us category, Islam gives us concession to the poor. Really, it's much better than the conventional microfinance product. I'm doing my PhD in Islamic microfinance, and my topic is the impact assessment of Islamic microfinance institution. And I did research in four countries, Indonesia, Pakistan. Conventional microfinance product, they will remain in the poverty for 5 to 6 years. Why? Because based financing. Asset create a positive impact in the life of the poor. For example, if I am the poor microfinance institution, when I approach my old loan, etc., the version of, if here is the Islamic microfinance institution, they will do me the, which I felt. I'm coming here from last 4 years in Nigerian market. What I heard, in Nigeria, we have some misconception. People consider that Islamic microfinance or Islamic finance is only for Muslim. No. Islamic finance is a system which can be utilized or operated by non-Muslim. But for there is an extra benefit that this is according to their religious belief. But for non-Muslim, that is a very good system of banking and finance. For example, I have a Samsung, and definitely I am utilizing that system either to my religion. No. Poverty alleviation and social development. Dr. Saab also discussed about the zakat model. Yes, zakat model is we can categorize Islamic microfinance into two categories: the charitable model and commercial model. The commercial bank who are offering murabia, ijara, salam, istasna, those are the commercial model. And the charitable model, the institution who works on the basis of waqf model, zakat model, and other charitable product like a concession. But we should careful for the zakat model, because according to, we have a difference of opinion. Even in Pakistan and in Southeast Asia, we do not recommend zakat model for Islamic microfinance. Because according to the attribute of the zakat, when you give zakat to the poor people, you do not have a right to take back that money. Yes, zakat can be utilized as a grant-based product, but zakat cannot be utilized for Islamic microfinancing purposes to give the money and take back. So there are difference of opinion among the Sharia scholars. Believe in very good product for the poverty education and social development, and play a vital role for the poverty alleviation. Talks have also discussed about sustainable development goal. Yes, recently United Nations Development Program recognized Islamic finance for achieving sustainable development goal, and Dr. Masterly
but I prevail on him to stay. So if you don't, is there a roving?
Fully aware that the wealth of a nation is the human capital resources of that nation. So what role is the Islamic microfinance play in developing the human capital resources of the nation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next one. Next one. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. The names on the high table today are very common names.
Please, can you say your name?
My name is Moshood Oyewole. I came in from Kano.
Thank you, Moshood.
Yeah. The names on the high table today are very well known in the last 18 months that I've been following Islamic finance. I mean Dr. Bashir.